everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for July 16th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Liana. How you doing, Liana?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so happy to be here to talk through all of the wildness that's going down on the feeds. There's so much to get into. It's been a while, but I'm ready to dust the cobwebs off and get back into all of the live feedness.
Yes, on a Saturday.
Yes.
So we are here, of course, to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. It was day 10 in the house, and it's an eventful day. There's a lot that's happening here. A lot strategically that's going on. A lot of conversations. And there's also just like some other nonsense that's happening. So we will get through it all. We will do our best here.
Yes, we will do our best. A lot of conversations, a lot even happening right now. I'm going to say, Taran, you talk about that tomorrow because we already have enough going on. But
Yeah.
Look, it's up to you. Let's do this.
Well, the seeds of what's happening now in the feeds did happen yesterday, so we will be able to sort of get into some of it. So, let's head straight into this. Obviously, you learned yesterday that Jasmine is the new HOH, injured though she is, and her original plan was to target Taylor. However, Pooch nominated himself for the block, or volunteered for the block, I should say. And he, in doing so, opened up the minds of some people in the house to the possibility of sending Pooch home instead. And so Amira in particular really started pushing that to Jasmine, but really a few different people seemed to have the idea because he's volunteering for the block. And so what happened is the night before, on day 9, the plan became that Jasmine is going to nominate Pooch, take him up on his offer, and but then secretly they will all be sending Pooch home.
Yes. And to clarify about Pooch's offer to go on the block, he specifically was talking about a backdoor.
Yes.
We have to backdoor Taylor, meaning I will go on the block and someone else, not Taylor, will go on the block. And that's important because it motivates a lot of his behavior later on in yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. The plan, his plan, because this was his plan, was that Taylor would be backdoored, and he feels like Taylor should not have a chance to compete in the veto. She should already be gone from the house. So that's how he feels about it. So that's what happened the night before. So let's get into day 10 here. Before we get into the Jasmine's stuff, all of what's happening with, because she's going to have conversations with each person about nominations, and then she's going to make nominations. It's going to be a whole thing. Before all of that, we should check in with Nicole and Daniel. They had a conversation pretty early in the day, and some other events that have been occurring over the last few days is that with Paloma's exit, the Bleep Alliance, or the Mamba, I still haven't figured out a new name. And hey, maybe they won't need to because things are starting to get a little shaky here.
Right.
But the Bleep Alliance has recruited Nicole to replace Paloma, which is an extremely boneheaded decision, spearheaded by apparently Monty. So Nicole now knows about the Mamba / Bleep Alliance. Mm-hmm. However, she thinks that it was just created. Whenever she was approached, that's when she thinks that it was created. She was approached by Amira. Amira is kind of her contact in the alliance. She even says at one point, I believe, like, man, good thing that Paloma, or not good thing, but like, if Paloma hadn't left the game, like Amira and myself probably wouldn't have been included in this alliance. And Amira's like, so she knows about the alliance. And she's going to talk to Daniel. She's already told him about the alliance, but she tells him about the Pooch plan as well. And he does not like the Pooch plan. First of all, he's in an alliance with Pooch and Turner called Inception.
I guess production didn't care. They're like, it's not going to last. It's fine.
Not gonna last. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And also, he nominated 3 people and none of them went home. He's pissed about that. He thinks it was not fair, but it was. And so he wants Taylor to go. In addition to that, we'll talk about this later, but he feels like Taylor won't leave him alone, and he wants her to go. She, though, says, no, this is the right call because we can't trust Pooch, and Taylor will take shots at the guys. And this is why we need Taylor to take shots at the guys. This new 6-person alliance, it includes Monty and Kyle. And I think that it's important that we take Monty and Kyle out of the picture. If we take Monty and Kyle out, at least one of them, then we can replace them with you. And then you will be included in the alliance. She says, I don't want this to be like a Big D and Ozza situation where players like Alyssa just let the boys get to the end. They think that Kyle and Alyssa might be a little bit of a thing. We started clocking the flirting recently. They have as well. And so they're concerned that Alyssa is just going to go like, heart
like the
eyes.
Cartoon, the big eye, like
exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I love that. Yeah. I mean, this is like the long-term game plan to try to, how do we bring Daniel in? And I think that Nicole's logic also is like, look, I know that you feel nervous about about losing Pooch and Turner here, or Pooch, whatever, one of them, but like, don't worry about it. I got you. That's what we're going to do. We're going to look, it's 4D chess, baby. Okay. We keep Taylor takes out Monty, and then we replace you, Monty, with you. Boom. Nailed it. Got it.
Nailed it. So that's the plan. We got to just take a shot. Probably Monty. He's probably the bigger threat. Daniel says, I agree. I do. The problem is, like, I can't. Monty is the biggest threat to my game. I do think it's best for my game to take a shot at him, but like, I can't do that. I can't now. Not after I took the shot at Taylor. Like, I can't take a shot at Taylor and Monty.
Yeah, but you're not HOH.
Right? Like, but it couldn't be me. It can't be me. I can't be the one.
But also, I love women, and I only want to play with women, says Daniel.
Yes. He's more and more Frenchie-esque as time goes on.
Very much so.
So he can't go after Monty because the implication here that he's already taken a shot at one black player. He can't be taking shots at 2 black players. And so Nicole says, yes, exactly. So that's why we need to keep Taylor around so she can do it for you. And he's like, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And Brittany's name was also thrown in the mix a little bit. Like, Nicole also keeps floating Brittany, which is, because there's also talk about Brittany potentially going up as like a replacement nominee in some circumstances. So I think Nicole is kind of trying to like lay the groundwork of like, look, we need to keep Taylor, we need to keep Brittany, because we need these 2 players to go after the guys that we don't want to touch on our HOHs.
Yes. So he reluctantly agrees to the plan. So that's kind of where Nicole and Daniel stand for now. Jasmine, in the meantime, is going to start her talks. And I'm kind of just going to do one big summary of all the Jasmine talks prior to nominations because they're all pretty similar. Basically, her MO in these conversations is that she is going to ask people, what do I do? Oh, I don't know what to do. Okay, so Pooch is the target, but who do I put next to Pooch? What should I do? Do I have the numbers? Are you sure? That's kind of how she's approaching a lot of the conversations. And pretty quickly we get to the idea of like, okay, so Pooch is the target, but it will actually be Taylor that goes on the block next to Pooch because she doesn't have to put anybody else up yet. And so that becomes the plan, and that becomes kind of the thing she's talking to a lot of people about.
Which, by the way, those are the last 2 names that Amira told her last night, Taylor and Pooch. And as far as I could tell, Jasmine didn't really have any original thoughts except for telling people to to take, if they were to win Veto, to take someone off the block. Yeah. If you win, yes, of course, you have to take them off the block, which like makes no sense, because don't you want to keep noms the same? Why are you trying to get people, like, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, look, if I win the Veto, I'm going to take so-and-so off the block. Okay, fine, roll with that. But her volunteering this information for multiple people, she did it for Kyle, she did it for Monty, she did it for Michael throughout the day, was also a very odd pattern that I noticed from Jasmine.
Yeah, I think we're kind of learning about Monty that like he's a really great social player, but strategically, Jasmine also strategically, she's not really, she doesn't really know what she's doing strategically. She's taking a lot of cues from other people, and when she does sort of like try to, step into the strategic arena on her own, she's doing things like telling Kyle, yes, use the veto on Pooch. And then a couple hours later, no, don't use the veto on Pooch. And we'll get into the Kyle stuff. But one thing that I will say that Jasmine is, I do think she's a very good liar.
But that's because all her stories are lies too. She has so much practice. So she just constantly spews lies, and it's easy because she's so good at it. Yeah, totally agree.
Just something to note, because it's interesting, because like the thing about it is that like, Big Brother's a game about lying, but few people are actually like really good at lying in the game. Like usually you just try to get yourself in a situation where you don't have to lie, and when you do have to lie, it's kind of obvious that you're lying. Like say Brittany. And so it's interesting to watch Jasmine, who again, like strategically doesn't really seem to have her head on straight, but definitely she has an air about her that she's able to just completely switch gears and be exactly what and say exactly what she needs to in order to like get across the false message that she's trying to portray.
Yeah, totally. That's why if she can have someone like Amira, being the strategist behind the scenes, like that would be a pretty dangerous pair.
Yeah. So that's what she's talking to most people about. The other element to this is that the plan as of right now is, Pooch and Taylor on the block. If Taylor were to win the veto or be taken down, and she is, again, her idea, let's have Michael win the veto and take Taylor down, because that will make it easier, except not for her, because she'll have to nominate somebody else. So that's going on for a while until she realizes, wait, actually, I don't want the veto to be used. And but if the veto if the veto had been used on Taylor, the plan was probably Brittany or Terrence to replace her to go up next to Pooch, and Pooch would still go home. If Pooch were to win the veto, then she would nominate Brittany or Terrence, and Taylor would be the target. Taylor would go home. In Jasmine's mind, if Pooch wins the veto, it's I've washed my hands clean of the Pooch plan. I was never targeting Pooch. It was always Taylor, just like I told Pooch, which we all know works very well in Big Brother when everyone knows about the plan.
Exactly. And all of you, except for maybe Turner and Joseph know and are all conspiring against you. It will never get out. That's why she's such a good liar. She'll just lie her way through it, Taran. See, it's a foolproof plan.
There you go. So that's the plan for now. And as we sort of briefly mentioned, Jasmine is also telling like the guys, like, yeah, use the veto on Pooch. That's fine. Then we'll just take out Taylor. So pretty quickly, Indy's going to get on board. Indy's all about this plan. Indy is pretty funny throughout the day. Not really involved in any like super important discussions, but like the fact that she's involved at all is like very exciting for her, and she's like really pumped up about like, yeah, we're getting out Pooch, and like what about Turner? What if Turner's mad? Like, he can go. I don't care about Turner. He sucks. And like, hey Taylor, you got to act more sad. We got to keep Pooch comfortable. She's like just super excited to be playing the game.
Well, I think playing the game, but also playing the game to get out one or two people that she genuinely dislikes. So she's all about that life.
Jasmine's going to talk to Daniel about this. He again kind of reluctantly agrees, kind of pushes back, but ultimately is on board. She talks to Michael, who says, "I'm with you 100%. You've got my support." She talks to Kyle about the plan. He's on board. He says, "Yeah, people see me and Pooch together, so I think it's good for my game if Pooch were to go." Remember, Kyle had talked to Alyssa about wanting to keep Taylor around and maybe taking out somebody like Pooch. Amira and Nicole, though, while this is happening, they're gonna pitch the Pooch idea to Monty. Now, we've always known that Monty might be the biggest obstacle to this Pooch plan because Pooch is theoretically an ally for Monty, and he really wants Taylor to go. So they pitch it to Monty, and he's, as expected, not super into the idea. He thinks that, look, unanimous vote is what we should be aiming for.
I think it's always good for an HOH to have a close to a unanimous vote. As soon as I heard those words leave his mouth, I was like, oh no. No.
He wants the whole house to be aligned, and he feels like the best option for that is the person that was primarily being targeted for a majority of the week last week, aka you know who. Amira and Nicole, not really bad, like, but this is kind of what we're thinking. And Monty's like, that just puts me in a difficult position. Because, Pooch would kind of expect me to kind of, be trying to help him. And Nicole says, look, difficult only with Turner and Joseph. Nobody else, right? Just Turner and Joseph will understand. He's your boy. And Turner, we'll have to get over it. Yeah. Amira's like, Turner will be next. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be on the outs. Yeah.
Well, and I think this is also the conversation where Nicole is like to Monty, well, it's either him or you, which was very interesting. She retells it later. So obviously this is something she remembers and like is very keen on. But if I was Monty, I'd be like, oh my God, what do you mean? Like, are you threatening me? Like, what is going on? But I think Nicole is like really just putting her foot down of like, look, this is going to happen. Okay.
And remember, Monty is the reason Nicole is in these conversations at all. And I think part of him was regretting it in that moment, which may have led to what happens later in the day. So Monty says, okay, fine. But me and Kyle, we're still going to probably have to vote Taylor out, right? So we don't blow our cover with Joseph and Turner. We'll still have the votes to take out Pooch, but we may need to have the votes, going in this direction just for our games. And Amira and Nicole were basically like, yeah, I mean, we're open to this idea as long as we definitely have the votes to send Pooch out. And so that's kind of where Monty stands as of now.
But his pushback is going to have some ripple effects later on. And so I think that this was like the first moment where we really saw the pushback from Monty here. And definitely, it has those downstream consequences when it comes to Amira and Nicole's view of him.
So Jasmine's going to talk to Terrence, who is primarily pitching for Taylor to go. But when asked if he'd be willing to vote against Pooch, he said yes. So we'll see where Terrence stands on that. He's later going to talk to Pooch, and Pooch is they're both going to talk about how they want Taylor out, and some not nice words are going to be said. Monty is going to talk to Jasmine, and he does again try to kind of lightly fight back against the Pooch plan. He tells Jasmine, hey, you've got two options, right? Like you put up Taylor, you take out Taylor, you get no blood on your hands, or you take out Pooch and you do get blood on your hands. So, both options, you could weigh them,
How much Lady Macbeth do we want to be today? How much blood are we going to get on there?
How much soap do you have? I don't know.
Exactly. Do you wash your hands? I don't know. But the Monty conversation was interesting because, like, before he was having the conversation with other people in the room, right? It was Amira and Nicole; they were all there, and so him coming back was sort of like, okay, now that maybe those outside influences are gone, can I make some headway here? And I do feel like Jasmine did sort of, not like fight him, but she stayed relatively firm in the decision. Although Monty like definitely tried, and she was a little bit, more giving. But I don't think that he made any significant headway, at least in that conversation.
Yeah, I think if Monty had gotten to Jasmine earlier, he might have been able to actually do something here. But by the time he talked to her, she'd already talked to half the house, and half the house had agreed to this plan. It was too late. So he ultimately concedes to Jasmine that okay, the pooch plan can be in place. But he also tells Jasmine, "Here's the thing, though. Just so you know, I'm probably gonna vote to keep pooch, just for my game."
Yep.
And she says, okay.
Well, because part of that is also, sorry to interrupt, is because the like they never saw the backyard boss twist ever play out, and so they keep talking about like a battle back, like just in case there's a battle back, just in case there's a battle back. And so there's sort of this like the looming ghost of the backstage boss pass just hovering over the house, and some people keeping that in the mind. I mean, that's at least the argument that they're giving. Whether or not Monty genuinely believes there's a battle back twist, I don't know. But that's part of the logic, as you mentioned.
So Jasmine talks to Joseph and asks him very subtly. So obviously Pooch volunteered. Would you be okay if Pooch was evicted just accidentally? And Joseph's like, no, that would not be okay. She's like, okay, well, that's not the plan for sure.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about it. And she's also going to talk to Turner about this. She's going to talk to Pooch about this. So basically, the three people who don't know what the plan is are Turner, Pooch, and Joseph. And Terrence is kind of like loosely in on the plan.
One other thing about both the Joe and the Turner conversations, because they happen back to back, and this could have ramifications for the replacement nominee, or like why Turner specifically is not on the board. Because I think part of the logic is like, well, if you're going to go after Turner and Pooch, put up Turner and Pooch, and then also that still goes to the backdoor plan that Pooch originally came up with. So like they would understand. But Turner, both Joseph mentions like, oh, well, Turner like is really upset about this whole thing, and then Turner comes in next to talk to Jasmine and is like, oh, well, I would have a mental breakdown if the two of them were to leave. So I think Jasmine, who very much doesn't want to touch people who are, dealing with a lot of emotion right now, Turner becomes like immediately off the table as someone who could potentially go up as a renom, at least for her.
Yes. As far as Jasmine's concerned, still, if Pooch is to come down, then it's Taylor that's leaving, and she wouldn't want more blood on her hands by nominating anybody else.
Exactly.
And so what she tells Pooch and them is that if because Pooch is like, okay, so I'm going on the block. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted. But Taylor next to me, that's not really what we discussed, right? Now Taylor's playing in the veto competition. What if she wins? And Jasmine's, don't worry about it. Don't worry, I got you covered. I'll just put somebody else up that will go home. And she says basically Brittany is the person that she would put up, and then they would all send Brittany home over Pooch. And he's like, people would do that? Yeah, don't worry about it. I got all the votes. I got everyone came up here. They said they wanted Taylor gone. They said they wanted Brittany gone. You don't worry about it. You're gonna be fine.
Meanwhile, Pooch is talking to Turner like, I'm so pissed that Jasmine is putting Taylor up right away. I can't believe it. Because remember that he pitched the backdoor plan. So like he volunteered under the notion that he was going to be part of a backdoor plan. Okay. So he's like, immediately the red flags start going off, although it only seems to manifest in like him kind of freaking out, not really doing anything like concrete or helpful about it. But that's his response.
Yeah. And in case we haven't made a big enough point about this, maybe this goes down as one of the worst moves in Big Brother history, to just randomly nominate himself for eviction. It's been discussed multiple times that this would not have happened if not for the volunteering. And you can't volunteer yourself like, okay, I'm volunteering for the block under specific circumstances, and then like, okay, but now I want to change those circumstances, but I've still got your volunteer card. I've still got an IOU on the block during your HOH. It's you just put yourself in that spot for no reason. So dumb.
Yeah, and like you're not in any position of power. So when someone's like, "I've altered the terms of the deal," like, what are you gonna do? Nothing. You already volunteered to go on the block. It's so stupid.
Yeah. So Jasmine also talks to Taylor and lets her know that she needs to use her as a pawn. Taylor's response is essentially like, obviously, I don't want to be on the block, but Taylor's mode of operation here is I am willing to do whatever it takes to earn the women's trust in the house. I am all for the women. I am a girl's girl to the bone, and I got in trouble for talking to the guys, so I'm not going to talk to the guys. I'm only going to talk to the women. I'm only going to work with the women, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get the women to trust me. In the meantime, most of the women are like, yeah, let's just use Taylor for as much as she's got, and then we can dump her.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they see Taylor as someone that they can use to take out Kyle or Monty, specifically Monty, and that's kind of it, which I do feel bad. I mean, part of it is interesting though, because we'll get into it later with some of Taylor's game talk and like how forward she is about what she wants to do, because she like keeps pushing Monty, and she also keeps pushing Monty to Jasmine as another option of like, oh, if you put up Monty, like, yeah, maybe you should do it. Like, no, what are you doing? Stop. Like, I get it that you are on the outs, so you don't understand the social dynamics in the house right now, but if you're on the block and you were on the block last week and we're theoretically going home last week, I would be like, what do you want? I will do whatever you want. I will do it. I'm not driving at all. I'm not Terrence. I'm not driving the bus. I'm just sitting in the bus. I'm just here to hang out.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing with Taylor. We can talk about it now, but basically just like Taylor, she tells the cameras this as well. She's looking to target Monty for good reason. He was kind of like the biggest visible thing that caused her to be on the outs in the first place, with the whole Paloma miscommunication thing. And he also like just hasn't bothered to talk to her since they cleared that up. He is gunning for her. Like she can feel it. She just knows that Monty's coming for her. She wants to target Monty. She feels like this is a good person for me to be targeting. And she tells Amira about it. She tells Amira she wants to target Monty, and she does later in the day after being nominated pitch to Jasmine, hey, if Pooch were to win the veto, or if I were to win the veto, like, hey, what if we got Monty up there? And Jasmine's like, nah.
Even straight up when Taylor's like, okay, if I pull myself down and you put up Monty, do we have the votes to get Monty out? Jen's like, no. I'm not even gonna lie to you. No, he's not going home. No.
Yeah, and so like from my perspective, it's like I think that Taylor saying, I want to target the guys, I want to work with the women. That's all she needs to say for the women, right? Like just keep it vague, because all of the women have specific guys that they don't want to be targeted. Like Amira doesn't want Taylor to target Monty. And they're like, how do we get her to not target Monty? We want her to target some of the other guys like Joseph. And so by naming a specific target, she's giving herself the ability to be wrong about which target people want her to be targeting. If she just says the guys, I just want to work with the women, I want to target the guys, then all of the women in their minds will think, so she'll target Joseph for me, or she'll target Monty for me, or she'll target Kyle for me. But by naming a specific target, that window is a lot more narrow.
Exactly. Like, ooh, no, not you can target the guys, but not that guy, right?
Exactly.
And you leave it up to their imagination to populate whomever they feel like she should be going after, which is perfect. And also, she's not in power, so leave it vague, please.
Yeah, you're on the block. So Jasmine does nominate Taylor and Pooch. Pooch, as you mentioned, Liana, is not pleased that Taylor is on the block. The point was that she was going to be backdoored. He's going to be very upset if Taylor wins that veto, and stays in the house one more week because she's like a mosquito you can't kill. That she should be gone by now.
But like, I mean, because he's talking about last week, like she should have been gone last week.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Bro, what do you want?
He wants her gone. He wants the fairness.
Oh, fairness. Yes, of course. Sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot. Yes, Big Brother's all about fairness. Yes.
Yeah. Nicole talks to Daniel again, and she lets him know that Monty's getting a lot of pushback because he refuses to vote Pooch out, which is, I don't think she necessarily meant it this way, but it's a signal to Daniel to be like, oh yeah, I'm not pushing back at all. Actually, I mean, like, I'm really concerned because I'm supposed to be in an alliance with Turner and Pooch, and I feel like if Pooch leaves and then Turner leaves, like, I'm screwed here. Like, I don't have anybody, but I'm not pushing back. But like, it does suck for me. And Nicole's like, don't worry about it. I got you. I'm with so many people. I can keep you protected. And we're gonna do this whole thing. The guys, they're not going to come after you when you get rid of Pooch. They're going to still go after Brittany because they hate Brittany. And she says, and I really think that in this group, I've got Amira, and with Amira, we can really like you, me, Amira, boom. That's the core, right? And yes, obviously, like, Alyssa is head over heels for Kyle, and we need to deal with the Kyle and Monty situation. But that's what we can do. I'm here to take swings. If we get HOH, some combination of Monty, Joseph, Kyle on the block, get Monty out, easy.
Yeah, and Nicole also says that if once Taylor's gone, myself, Nicole, and Amira are next, and so I think part of that, that's not true in my opinion, but I don't know if part of that is deflect, like, Daniel, don't worry, because we would even be the targets. Like, you wouldn't even be the target, even if we were to let these guys go. So part of that is also for the reassurance of it all. And then with the Amira thing, I think Daniel later in the night proposes, like, hey, should we make a final 3 with Amira, like the 3 of us together? So that's definitely a relationship, that like triad, but especially Nicole and Amira is a relationship that I've seen continue to develop.
Yeah, and the Amira Nicole relationship has been one that's been developing since like sort of midway through week 1. And also, again, Amira was the one to bring Nicole into this group of 6, even though it was apparently Monty's idea for Nicole to join. And so Nicole really feels like Amira is like her person here. And that's obviously very good for Amira. One other thing Taylor said to the cameras is that she was rooting for Tiffany last season, and that she sort of got into the show because of the cookout. And this isn't super unique to Taylor either, that a lot of the women have talked about Tiffany, especially because a lot of the women are talking consistently about not letting guys get near the end, wanting women in the end. And they're all kind of referring to like what happened to Tiffany. Like, if Tiffany had had more women that were willing to work with her, Tiffany would have won that game. And they all see themselves as Tiffany. And so they're all sort of like what happened at the end of last season is actually having a pretty major impact on the game plan for the women this season.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how essentially the fate of one player is motivating so many different people this season. I don't know if that was something that casting looked out for, and they're like, Tiffany's your fave? All right, perfect. Let's bring you in. We're going to do this and cast a bunch of beta bros and let's go for it. But yeah, the Taylor conversation to the camera was interesting because she, we are able to get a sense of where her head is at. Although, she has said a lot of this, but she really emphasizes, I want to take a shot at Monty. I'm in with the girls. I'm ride or die with the girls. I really hope the girls aren't playing me, which, like, I felt so nervous at the moment. And then she says one thing at the end. She's like, I hope I feel like you guys don't like me out there. And all I wanted to do is shake the hand and be like, Taylor, no,
I know.
we love you. We really love you.
So Amira is going to talk to Michael about Monty. She lets him know that Taylor is talking about targeting Monty, and that Nicole also talked to Amira about targeting Monty. And she says, well, that's because she thinks that this thing was just started, and that that she's worried that Monty and Kyle are really actually with the guys. But her and Michael know the truth, which is that they've already exposed the guys to them. They know that the guys are actually more closely working with them than with the other guys. And so, they don't want Monty to be targeted. They feel like Monty's still useful to them right now. However, Monty, like, talking about bringing Joseph to the final 7 or something, like, no, thank you. Joseph needs to go. And another thing, these guys got to stop throwing competitions. That Monty obviously threw that HOH competition. We're not just going to let them do this, like throw the comps and then win them all at the end. Like, no. They got to start winning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if they're not going to win, then they don't get to choose who goes home. And so this is also really important. I was loving this Amira Michael conversation. I'm like very happy when anytime the two of them get together to talk strategy, because I do feel like it's genuine from both sides to a certain extent. And so that's always really nice to see. And I think that a lot of the discourse and some of the conflict within the Bleep Alliance is now starting to come out, and it's because of the guys throwing, but the guys wanting to dictate.
Yes. Also worth noting that we got confirmation from Michael earlier in the day. He said to the cameras that he did, in fact, throw the HOH competition, and it came down to Michael and Jasmine. So he specifically threw it to Jasmine. That I have to imagine that if the implication here being that if he had tried, he probably could have won. So there's that to consider. We'll probably see that in the episode. But another thing to remember is that when this alliance was still the Bleep Alliance that included Paloma, Michael and Amira had a conversation where they said, hey, we need to be a duo within this alliance because Alyssa and Paloma are a duo, Kyle and Monty are a duo. But of course, Paloma's now gone. And that there's still that dynamic here with Michael and Amira. But they talked about how, Alyssa now basically doesn't have Paloma. They talked about basically it should be us 3 now. It should be Alyssa with us. And of course, I don't know if this is something that Michael or Alyssa are thinking about yet, but Amira clearly has Nicole as well. So we'll see where that goes. But they kind of talked about how like Nicole is still kind of on the outs of the alliance in general. But they talked about the two of them and Alyssa sticking together, and they talked also about trying to get Turner on the block if Pooch were to win the veto.
Right, exactly. Because they list, or at least Amira lists her preferred boot order, which would be Pooch, Turner, Taylor, Brittany, then Indy/Terrence. To which Michael replies, I forgot about Terrence. To which I replied, I also forgot about Terrence. So, it's going to be interesting to see where he falls and like who's going to take an HOH to take out Terrence. But yeah, that was nice because I do believe that Amira is genuine in the people that she listed there.
Yes. So Jasmine is going to talk to Kyle, and that's because prior to the nominations, she had spoken to Kyle a second time, and she had told him, so this is what I'm doing. We're targeting Pooch. You said you're on board. You're still on board. He said yes. And so after her conversation with Monty, though, Monty kind of spoke for Kyle without talking to Kyle. And he said, like, Kyle and I might need to vote this way. Kyle and I might need to do this in order to, keep our cover, keep our cover with the guys. And so she tells Kyle prior to nominations, but if you win the veto, you use it on him, and then we'll take out Taylor. That's fine. He's like, okay. I don't think I would do that, but fine. And then later in the day after nominations, she's talking to some of the women and she's realizing, wait a minute, I don't want the veto to be used on Pooch. And I want Kyle to vote for Pooch, but because I want as many people to vote for Pooch as possible. I don't know why I want to let Monty and Kyle not vote for Pooch. So she brings Kyle back in and she's like, okay, so I feel like maybe you should not use the veto. And he's like, sure. Yeah, that's okay. And then she says, and you're willing to vote out Pooch. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, I just know that because I talked to Monty and he said that you might not want to vote for Pooch for your game. And he's like, oh, really? What? Wait, for she's like, because keep your cover with the guys. And Monty said that you might not want to do that. And he's like, oh, okay. I mean, I think I would vote for Pooch. I mean, that's what I've been thinking, but you're sort of convincing me otherwise right now. She's like, just be upfront with me. Like, I just don't change your mind. I want you to tell me now and not later. Just like, don't lie to me and say that you're definitely going to vote out Pooch and then change your mind and not want to vote out Pooch. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I should talk to Monty. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll think about it. I guess I need to think about it.
Yeah, I like how this went from Kyle being like, yes, definitely, I will vote out Pooch, whatever you want, to then being like, oh, I guess I should think and reevaluate the situation. It's like the opposite of what you wanted to happen because you wanted to confirm that Kyle was on board. So I don't understand what the purpose of this conversation was.
She fully talked him out of voting Pooch out in this conversation.
Yes. Which then later in Kyle, I didn't catch all of them, but I caught one conversation he was having with Alyssa in the storage room where he was like, yeah, maybe I genuinely do need to we need to reconsider who's going home. And because I thought we were all on board to get Pooch out. Guess we're not. Guess we should take out Taylor. Like, wow. No, please stop.
This is the snowball that will become an avalanche. We will get there. So Monty also briefly talks to Nicole, and he's talking about the alliance. And remember, earlier in the day, they kind of had that interaction where they were really trying to push Pooch onto Monty, and it was starting to feel like Monty maybe not in control of the situation. Monty's trying to really win over Nicole to his side. Within the alliance, hey, us six, we're gonna get to the end. It's a great plan. It's awesome. He says, and just so you know, I was the one that told the group that I wanted you in the alliance. Now remember, in Nicole's perspective is that this thing just came together. But Monty is saying, I told the group that I wanted to include you because, and he goes on, Paloma was in it first, but obviously once she left. And he goes on to talk about on day one, we were talking to these people. Now, I don't think she caught all of this because it was all very whispery and stuff. But it's just Monty.
This house generally has a problem with when they talk strategy, they talk all the strategy, literally everything just comes out of their mouth. I'm not even rooting for Monty, but I was like, Monty, shush, stop talking. Please stop talking. Because Nicole does, yeah, you're right. She doesn't catch everything, but she does clock oh, this group existed before me. I'm the last one to be brought in. And then tells Daniel ultimately about that later, which obviously reshapes her perspective on the group.
Mm-hmm. And it's just Monty, who was perhaps in the best spot at the end of the last week, somehow managed to spearhead the inclusion of somebody who obviously would rat out their alliance. The same person who is now gunning for him to be evicted because of her inclusion in this alliance. This was such an unforced error, and it just keeps getting worse for specifically Monty, the man that initiated it.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but because of that move in the Amira and Daniel the Amira and Michael conversation, Michael is even I can't believe he brought in Nicole because isn't Nicole definitely going to tell Daniel? They're obviously aware of that relationship and what a bad move it is. So it's not just that. There's multiple reasons why this was such a blunder.
Mm-hmm. So Kyle does, as you mentioned, he talks to Alyssa and he's like, yeah, so at first I was thinking, yeah, I want Pooch out, but now I'm not sure. I talked to Jasmine, she was like, is this right for you? And it's getting around that Taylor is talking about targeting the guys and Monty and him. And that's not good. Pooch is working with him, thinks that he's they're boys, and Taylor's coming for him and Monty.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we shouldn't get rid of Pooch. I mean, I'm still willing to go along with it, but I just feel like we maybe need to think about this a little more.
Mm-hmm. It felt like watching Kyle start to think on his own.
Yeah.
For the first time, it was very adorable in a certain way. Not because it's the outcome that I personally am rooting for, but just it was very exciting to see him be like, wait, hold on. Because Pooch is on my side. Why would I evict Pooch? Taylor coming after me. why would I keep Taylor? It was very much the light, sort of being shined on the actual situation. Now, I don't know how long it's going to last and ultimately what the ramifications are, but as you mentioned, this is definitely the snowball / avalanche that's occurring.
Yeah, and so skipping a couple things later in the night, he's going to go to Pooch and be like, "Hey, so Pooch, like you should really pick me for the veto. Jasmine already told me it's okay to use it on you, so like I'd be super down for that." And just to give you like sort of a brief update, this morning, as we've been talking, this is really again snowballed into the avalanche that is now. Kyle's starting to really push, and Monty is starting to get on board that, hey, we really need to reconsider. We don't think Pooch should go home. And so there's a genuine pushback here, and there's a veto competition coming up. And so there's a lot of potential things in the way of this Pooch plan.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what at least this morning, what I was sort of starting to see, there was a conversation with Monty, Michael and Amira, I think in the bathroom that was happening where Monty is starting with this genuine pushback against Pooch. Then what are we going to see from the other side? Are we going to see the other side match that resistance and they're going to now start fighting back? Because for example, Michael was talking about, well, if he even has a conversation with Taylor earlier last night about, well, if I win the veto, I can't promise that I'll use it on you. Well, now if they see the other side, the boys started trying to be like, no, we need to keep Pooch. We need to keep Pooch. Okay, does that change ultimately what the people who want Pooch out? What are they going to do? So this could be very interesting. And if like, let's say Jasmine somehow manages to win the veto on her little scooter, which by the way, she got a scooter. She got her very own little Christmas scooter with a bell and everything. She's like scooting around. If she manages to win, then what happens? She's kind of in the middle of all of this. Is she going to be pressured one way or another to take someone down? But then she would have to nominate somebody else. This is going to be so interesting to see how it plays out over the next, today / tomorrow.
Yes. So that's happening there. There's also, in case you were wondering, yes, still plenty of Taylor trash talking. A lot of it coming from Pooch, some of it coming from Terrence, a lot of it coming from Daniel. Again, Daniel is talking to the cameras about this. He's going to talk to everyone who will listen to him. That Taylor is just following him around everywhere. She won't leave him alone. Jasmine is also annoyed that Taylor is trying to take care of her while she is injured and won't leave her alone.
Yeah. I can't get rid of her. What a terrible person. She like set up when Taylor would come to talk to her, she would like set up people to come and interrupt their conversation to like help her escape the situation. The way that Jasmine refers to Taylor is not, I don't like it.
Yes. And it gets worse. Daniel and Terrence and Nicole, all three of them very active participants in this conversation, are talking in the have not room. They talk about how, look, it's one thing for Taylor to make comments about how people look. But can you believe that she seems like she's over the whole Paloma thing? Like she doesn't even care anymore, which is messed up because that's a person's mental health. And she was a big reason why Paloma had to leave. Nicole says it feels like she doesn't understand the gravity of what she did. Like when Taylor was nominated, Paloma immediately grabbed her and Paloma started apologizing to Taylor as if she did something wrong. And it was like, no, Paloma, don't do that. Taylor needs to feel what you were feeling.
Listening to this conversation, it felt like I was in a fever dream. I was like, is this, are you, what? Genuinely, this is what you're saying right now? This is what's coming out. You're blaming Taylor for what happened to Paloma? Is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm. And she says, yeah. And in the moment that Paloma left, she stole that moment with all her dramatic crying. Like, it's not about you. And Daniel says, God. Yeah. And now she's going crazy. And they're like, crazy? Like obsessed. She's like obsessed with me. Like, I'm not going to let you affect my mental health too, because she's doing it to me now. And Nicole's like, well, hey, maybe. And by like, again, Terrence is also saying these things. He's also like very much like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And because Terrence is the one that started the ball rolling on the it was basically Taylor that made Paloma leave the game. And Daniel is like, yeah, she just won't leave me alone. And Nicole says, maybe you should get the guys to, like, anytime they see you with Taylor, be like, hey, can you save me? Because then you're not like isolating her. They're just like helping you get out of the situation. He's like, yeah, I wouldn't want her to have some sort of victim story.
Oh my God. I thought with the pooch plan, we could move past a lot of these like really terrible comments, but it's not just this conversation. There's like multiple conversations that start just a little bit of light Taylor bashing just to, like warm up the conversation. That seems to be like the introduction to every conversation, or most conversations, is a little bit of Taylor bashing. And it's still heartbreaking and devastating to see.
Yeah, and like you've even got like I think it was Joseph that said it at one point when they were talking about Taylor. He was like, because they were talking about like, do you think we're being the mean ones? And are we the baddies? And Joseph was like, well, it's not like anybody said anything to her face. Like, we haven't been mean.
Amira also said something about like, well, maybe we're the bullies in the situation, and like those little comments, I was like, please see the light, please see the light.
Mm-hmm. And many instances of the B word being used in reference to Taylor from over the last couple of weeks at this point. So unfortunate.
Yeah, I think I heard Jasmine refer to her as like that girl, that bee, that hoe. It's like, what is your why are you so pressed? Like, stop. It's ugh. Yeah. Continuing, unfortunately.
So that's happening. And luckily, after that great big bonding session between Daniel, Nicole, and Terrence, Daniel and Nicole went into the HOH room and they bonded some more with Jasmine and Alyssa, which we will get to very briefly. Prior to that, Jasmine and Alyssa had been bonding. Luckily, not anti-Taylor. Luckily, Alyssa seems to be a bit free of that. But they did bond in general. Jasmine opened up to Alyssa about her business. This is my secret. I'm not like a nail salon person. I used to do that. I actually now have my own business, and it's a nail press-on thing business.
Compare this to, was it Turner earlier in the season who revealed that he actually has businesses?
Yeah.
So, what a bunch of entrepreneurs we have.
She said, hey, Beyonce has shouted her out.
Look at you go. Oh my gosh, this is the Frankie moment, Same level of celebrity.
Yeah. So Alyssa was like, oh my God, that's so great. Alyssa opens up to Jasmine, says, I'm actually a super fan. I've actually been watching since season 1, studied the game. I didn't like that she said studied the game. I feel like unnecessary turn of phrase there that people who don't know the show very well will latch onto. But she opens up about being a super fan. So they've just bonded. Daniel and Nicole have just bonded about how Taylor caused Paloma to leave. And they're all going to come together into the HOH room late at night and talk more about the pooch plan. Getting out pooch. They're getting pooch out. It's going to be great. And they ultimately talk about a little bit about like working together potentially and maybe bringing Amira in and having, because Jasmine hasn't really locked in an alliance yet. And so they talk about this as a possibility. Now, obviously for Alyssa, she's already in the bigger alliance. From Nicole's perspective, she feels like this is a much better alliance for us. Like, let's just we'll cancel this, a bleep alliance at season 1, cliffhanger ending, and let's just move ahead with potentially this one. And so she's going to maybe try and talk to Amira about it. But, again, we'll see where all of that goes.
Right. Well, I mean, in the similar way to Michael reacted when he was, the last one brought into the original Bleep Alliance, when Nicole finds out that she was then the last one brought into the new Bleep Alliance, right? Of course, you're going to feel like, oh, well, I'm not a core part of that. So of course, I'm going to try to seek something else out and try to make that my, what I'm maybe more loyal to because I'm in the core and not just, the outside of the onion.
Yes. So that's pretty much where we stand now. The nominations are in place. The plan is loosely kind of all over the place in terms of what might happen with this veto, what might happen with the votes. Again, just this morning there was some much bigger pushback for the plan to take Pooch out. He is still blissfully unaware of the fact that he is a target. He's just spent the day kind of canoodling with Joseph. And in the meantime, everyone's particularly like Jasmine and Indy and Alyssa, they're kind of just like taking care of I said Taylor. Anyway, Jasmine's being taken care of in many ways. And that's kind of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few other kind of like random things I have is that in the conversation Jasmine and Brittany had earlier in the day, so even before nominations, Jasmine also confronts Brittany again about the fact that someone, I won't say who, but it was a guy, someone also won't say who, but it was unexpected, told Jasmine that Brittany threw Amira's name under the bus, and Brittany continues, I swear on everything, I didn't say a single thing. I anything I could potentially swear on, I swear on. I didn't say a single thing. It was just so funny to see that conversation happen again. And with especially Jasmine being much more upfront about like, someone came to me and told me that this is a thing. like, can we talk about it? No. That was a funny moment. Also, at one point, Taylor and Pooch, this is after nominations, they had a conversation, and Taylor has like some just funny shade. She was like, I thought I was going to be going up against somebody strong.
Yeah. She was like, I knew I was going to be a pawn, but I kind of expected to be against like a bigger target, bigger guy, maybe.
Yeah. Pooch is like, oh, like Monty? Like, yeah. So that was hilarious. But anyway, yeah, look, that's the feeds.
That's the feeds. That's about what we have for you from yesterday. I mean, it's again shaping up to be an interesting week. This veto competition will be huge. The veto draw itself, which I think might be happening right now, is going to be huge. There are all kinds of people like Monty, Joseph, Turner, and Kyle now are all probably looking to potentially use this veto on Pooch and just force the issue, prevent anything bad from happening. And if they do want to use the veto on Pooch, it was talked about. Jasmine is averse to the idea, but it was talked about, hey, you could just say, hey, Monty, if you're going to use the veto, I'm going to put up your guy Joseph, like something like that. And she was like, oh, no, I couldn't do that. But if they really try to force the issue like that, we could see more push for Jasmine to go in that direction. And even if, like, again, like if like Pooch wins himself, there was already planned to try to push her to put Turner on the block or something along those lines. So that could all happen. And this could also just end in a divide within the Bleep Alliance, that there was that kind of language that is used that splits alliances up, which is like, hey, Taylor's a problem for like both Kyle and myself, but Pooch is only a problem for like one, like you, Amira, right? Like our interests are not super aligned right now, but your threat is smaller than our threat. So like, you know what I mean? And it's getting a little tricky.
Yeah, exactly. So I think big things to look out for in the coming day is who's going to get selected to play the veto competition. Because I think a lot of conversations are going to happen after that, in between when the veto actually occurs. And then, of course, depending on who wins, I think it's going to be a complete scramble. Genuinely, anybody could win that veto, and there will be so much conversation, because I think there's going to be multiple sides saying use it, don't use it. And even someone like, I don't know, who doesn't really feel in the mix, Terrence. Okay, let's say Terrence wins somehow. I still feel like there will be a lot of talk about using / not using the veto. So genuinely, we're in for a really interesting few days of feeds. Ugh.
Yes. That's about it. That's what we've got for you today. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on all of the things that go on here today between the veto draw, the Veto competition results and all of the conversations that will occur because of those. I'll be, again, live tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on all of it. And then, of course, also tomorrow, I'll be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching the episode live with all of you. And, of course, after the episode, we'll be live to talk about it, recap it, and make jokes and play silly clips. And I'll also be playing some Goose Goose Duck tomorrow with the crew. Liana may or may not be there.
I will be there.
Liana will be there. So
do you want to make an alliance? Hold on. You have that friendship song with Puya. I'm not happy about that. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, a little bit.
Puya told me you were okay with the friendship song. Are you telling me he hasn't talked to you about it? He's told me.
He never said a word to me about it. I had to hear about it through the grapevine. Okay, Taran.
Wow.
So just so you know, you're on my radar.
He told me that like you guys had like this open song relationship and that like it was totally chill. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
We're misogynist. No, misogynist.
I think you got that a little mixed up.
It's best if you explain it. Jokes are always good. All right, let's get out of here. All
right. Well, thank you. Where can people find you, Liana?
Oh, yeah, sure. If you want to hear more bad portmanteaus, you can follow me on Twitter at Liana RHAP, podcasting about RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, All Winners. We're having a really great time. It's been a super fun season. And yeah, that's me.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.